YouTube, what up? We are back with the six-armed Spider-Man. And I want to be honest with you guys, I do not like this figure. As much as I really want to like it, I hold it and handle it and I move the arms and I say, damn, this figure had so much potential, but they just threw it away with the budget restraint. And from what I hear, that was the issue. There was a lack of budget, and so they had to work with what they had. And given, I understand. I understand that when the budget isn't there, you can't make what you want, but you can't release this to the general public, expect us to pay regular price, and you're not even giving us the articulation that's standard with the Marvel Legend. Like, is bogus. It's bogus. Not to mention, this is one of the most iconic Spider-Man ever created in comic book history, and so to give us something so lackluster like this, for me, is a little disrespectful. Now, I really hope, and I'm not trying to be a dick or an ass or anything like that, pardon my French, I really want this figure to be great. I want us all to have a nice six-armed Spider-Man. And unfortunately, it's something I can't do because it takes tooling, and it's something that a factory should do properly. And they did some of it. Like, the arms work really well. Like, they're tight in there. I just feel like they slacked on an ab crunch. I think if it would have had an ab crunch or a waist swivel, and actually I'm lying, an ab crunch and a waist swivel, I wouldn't say nothing bad about this figure, but because it lacks on all that, it makes me focus in on all the other flaws this figure has. Now, starting with the body use, this is a movie body. This is the Amazing Spider-Man movie body. Not entirely. The torso is obviously new, but the arms, legs, head all belong to the Amazing Spider-Man. Already a bad choice because they have given us many comic figures from Pizza Spider-Man to 2099 to the symbiote. There were a lot of, it was the same body. They could have just used that body and tooled the torso there. There are no web lines on this Spider-Man. Sure, it's sculpted. Woohoo! I don't really like sculpted figures. I know a lot of people are begging Hasbro to sculpt their figures. But when it comes to comic Spider-Man, I prefer them to be painted. That way they all kind of line up. Some figures look well sculpted, like the Gamerverse Miles Morales. But I personally want all my spiders, my comic spiders, to be painted and not sculpted. Some parts, of course. But the sculpted webs here with no paint is so disappointing that it bugs me enough to mention it. And again, I don't think I would have mentioned the lack of web painting if it had an ab crunch and waist swivel. Because I understand that in order to paint those web lines, it'll be tough. The machine will have to go in all those crevices and paint them. But that's the thing, if the machine couldn't do it properly, then why even use this figure in the first place? Not only why use this figure, but why use this shit twice for another iconic figure that you just ruined? Now, I know people say, oh, Hasbro, their toys are for children, for ages 4 and up. And that's true, I guess. But they know that a majority of their consumers are adults. We have been accustomed to at least 32 points of articulation. Now, granted, every figure can't be the same, so I understand when some has less and some have more. However, you can't just remove a diaphragm and an ab crunch from a 6-inch figure line where all the other figures have both, or at least one of the other. I don't know if there's any other figure that doesn't have a waist swivel or an ab crunch. If there is one, let me know, because I don't know. I don't think there's another Hasbro figure without either a waist swivel, a diaphragm, or an ab crunch. And you can see, this is what they use the body from. The Amazing Spider-Man. And even these web lines aren't painted great. So that's the reason why I never mentioned the web lines in the first video. Maybe I did, but that's why it's not a big deal for me anyway. Again, the biggest things for me are the waist swivel and ab crunch, because those things bring so much personality into a figure when you want to pose them, especially for somebody menacing like Doppelganger. The Amazing Spider-Man has an ab crunch and butterfly joints, and I'll be honest, this was one of my favorite figures when I first got into collecting. Like, it was this one, and then Pizza Spider-Man came out, and even then I thought the Amazing Spider-Man was a little better than Pizza Spider-Man because of the articulation. But since the release of Pizza Spider-Man and many other spiders on this same body, I've grown accustomed to the comic style figures that Hasbro has released. And so I like the Pizza Spider-Man. And then from there they went on with the Retro Spider-Man and the 2099 body, the new one. So there's a lot of great Spider-Man to like. And when you compare the 6-armed Spider-Man to any of these, you're just going to be disappointed, to say the least. And you can see he's a little shorter than the rest of these figures. I do like the colors, the bright red and the bright blue really do pop, but he just, come on. Someone said, oh, at least it's good for fodder parts. It isn't good for fodder parts. The only thing you could really use from this figure are the bare arms. Everything else is disposable. to be honest. So I this is what I'm asking Hasbro. I'm actually begging you, please, please Hasbro, consider making a new 6-arm Spider-Man. Now I know it's gonna cost a little money to tool up the right torso. I say even maybe just a diaphragm joint. If you don't want to add a waist swivel or an ab crunch, just add the diaphragm joint. A little bit of torso movement up top will be good enough for us to move this figure and get great poses and pictures from this figure. Another way to guarantee the sale of a proper 6-arm Spider-Man is put it in the retro card. Did you guys know this was actually from the cartoon? Because if you knew this was from the cartoon, I mean, it's from the comics as well, but if you knew this was a guy from the cartoon, you wouldn't have put the sculpt body on there. Now think about this. They gave us the new Walmart exclusive animated series Spider-Man. Imagine that same body with 6 arms. Oh my God, that'll be an amazing figure. I swear to God, I would punch myself to get that figure. Realistically, I know it's not possible though, because that torso may be too fragile to hold the weight of 6 arms, and so we'll have to make a new torso. I get it. So, if I was part of the Hasbro team, here's what I would propose. I would say, let's make a new 6-arm Spider-Man using perhaps the Sunfire body mold, right? Or at least a new torso for that. We might have to pay for that. Sunfire body mold, painted everything, nothing sculpted. We can reuse Shang-Chi arms and every other Sunfire arm we can have, and you can even reuse the head. We can reuse the I don't know, pick a head, anyone works. The retro head, anyone works. All right, but you have the bodies there. All we really want is a decent 6-arm Spider-Man. And again, if you retool the torso, you'll have more reuse purposes for that same body. There are tons of 6-arm Spider-Man. There's even a version of this same exact Spider-Man with sleeves, all 6 arms with sleeves. So the money will be there. You can continue to make different 6-arm Spider-Man with the new mold you're going to have, so I don't see why not. You could even charge us a deluxe price for an official, properly done 6-arm Spider-Man and Doppelganger. They could even be Build-A-Figures. I don't know. I mean, there's so many ways to make this thing. I want it to be done properly, and I don't want to sound like I'm crying or complaining, but Jesus, bro, this figure is very disappointing. And I don't even want to put it with my favorite Spider-Man as much as I want to put them with my favorite Spider-Man. I know it sounds repetitive, but I really just want to like these figures. And so that's what I suggest. New upper torso mold, reuse everything else. That's it. That shouldn't be hard. You making MCU figures all the time with new molds. There's no excuse for you to say you can't make a new torso that connects 6 arms with the diaphragm joint. I won't believe you if you say that's not possible.